than swift.
Well, while Bangladesh continue to give a very respectable account of themselves on their way out of the tournament in Pune, our attention shifts to Kolkata, where England and Pakistan will effectively play out the last game for both sides in this year's tournament. We look ahead to that game on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Matchday, powered by Qatar Airways. News coming from the Eden Gardens is that Jos Buttler's won the toss and he's going to have a bat first, which effectively Steve Harmison, Anil Kumble, and we'll hear from Urooj Mumtaz shortly, in case anyone harbored the aspiration of the unthinkable, which can only be associated with Pakistan or with Glenn Maxwell. But England have won the toss, they'll bat first, Harmy. So I guess that's the end of Pakistan.
Yeah, I think that's the end of Pakistan, and it's obviously the sensible thing for England to do. I couldn't see England trying to make a game of it and let Pakistan bat first, even though that might have been a good chance for England to win. That set Pakistan up to go for broke, go for the big score, and England hopefully capitalise in that way. But no, I think Jos Buttler's done the right thing. Go and get a score on the board, and hopefully Pakistan go and chase it. And England then will capitalise if they make mistakes. And
before I go to Anil, let me ask Urooj if she's just gone, damn, if we would have won the toss and then the unthinkable was on.
Well, the unthinkable, the unpredictable, all the uns come with Pakistan. But in all reality and honesty, a 290-run margin in its own is near impossible. But you never know with Fakhar Zaman, but I think that just shuts the lid on Pakistan's journey here now.
Fair enough. So that gives us an idea to effectively now talk about more realistic analysis. And realistically, Anil, both these teams, simply put, haven't played well enough to make it to the semi-final, Pakistan included.
Oh yes, both teams came with a lot of reputation. Of course, England defending champions, they didn't want to be called defending champions. They wanted to be called attacking. So they didn't like the word defending.
Very good, yeah.
So that's something that we have seen, that both these teams certainly came with a lot of reputation. I don't think there was enough preparedness, especially from an England perspective. Pakistan, as the tournament came along, I mean, Fakhar Zaman obviously adding a lot of value with the batting towards the second half of the tournament, where it was too late. Bowling, again, Pakistan, we knew it was heavily dependent on their fast bowling attack, and that didn't come through. Spin, again, is a concern. So, yes, overall, these two teams certainly didn't light up the World Cup, which we all expected both teams to be sort of be there towards the later half of the tournament, but they were literally down and out, halfway.
Yeah, just looking at how these two teams stack up in World Cup cricket, do we sense there is a lot riding on this game? There might just be, when a path is already being drawn for both England and Pakistan going forward now, and the first requirement would be the Champions Trophy qualification for England. Pakistan are there as hosts, they're also there in terms of where they'll finish in this league, but overall it's 14-4, heavily stacked in favour of England since the 2015 World Cup. It gets better. Pakistan haven't won in the last 4 years. They've not played a lot of ODI cricket in the last 4 years, certainly not in India, but in World Cups it's pretty close, and Pakistan had the edge with 5-4. What's riding on this game, Harmy, for England?
Pride, first and foremost. You hear that cliche all the time when you're out of a competition. I think there's quite a few of these players, when you look at their careers, I think we said yesterday that you've got to be looking at it in isolation. This has been a poor World Cup from some unbelievable great players who have played white ball cricket for England over the course of the last 10 years. I think there's at least 4 of them playing their last game of a 50-over cricket, possibly more. Who were World Cup World Cup winners. 3 of them were World Cup winners. 2 of them were World Cup winners and absolute legends of English cricket and in world cricket. So when it comes to that, I think I'm a little bit where the toss wanted it to go, because I think if Pakistan had batted first, it would have been a great game of cricket. I'm not so sure now, because I think whatever Pakistan put on the board, England would go for, because of that's their natural way. But huge mistakes have been made in this tournament. Leading into the tournament, picking the squad, then changing the squad. Preparation wasn't great. Like Anil mentioned, we didn't come in as champions. We came in as attacking. Rewind back 4 years ago when Owen Morgan was asked right at the very start, before the World Cup started, you are favourites for the World Cup. It's in your back garden, and he went, "Yep, we're going to enjoy it and we're going to win it." And that was the message that was given. Clear message: we're going to win the World Cup. I think we came with muddled thinking and muddled messaging this time.
Yep. As far as the teams go, Steve Harmison makes a point of perhaps this being a swan song of sorts, at least in this format, for the likes of Ben Stokes, maybe Moeen Ali, also perhaps Joe Root. How much ODI cricket do they still have left in the tank? Stokes only just came out of retirement in this format for this World Cup, and he will keep his place, as you'd think, after an incredible player of the match performance against the Dutch just a few days back. Harry Brook there too, so no changes from the team that got the job done against the Netherlands in Pune, which doesn't surprise you, Harmy, very quickly.
No, it doesn't. No, I was expecting. I thought Mark Wood might have come into the reckoning, especially with Pakistan having to play the way they were going to have to play. I thought the quick man, your fast man, your quickest bowler would be the man to come in and challenge with Gus Atkinson, but they've decided not to go that way.
All right, let's look at the Pakistan team. There is a change. They went all-out seam in Bengaluru against New Zealand. Didn't quite work. Kane Williamson side posted in excess of 400, even though Pakistan got on the right side of the result. But Shadab Khan returns in what will now be a three-man seam attack, along with Shadab and the very handy part-time spin of Iftikhar Ahmed, possibly Salman Ali Agha. We've not seen. He's more a batter and not a bowler. But Urooj, what's riding on this game for Pakistan, and how do you read Shadab's return?
Yeah, I think, Shadab was always going to be an important member, albeit he hasn't performed primarily with the ball. And after the concussion, he had to sit out for a couple of games. But I think looking at Salman Ali Agha's for Hassan Ali's change was probably Pakistan hoping that they bat first and extend that batting and then try and put up as many runs on the board as possible. But Shadab, once was fit, was always going to come back in. And I think the Salman Ali Agha as opposed to Hassan Ali changes only because they'd hoped for the coin to land in their favour. So, again, the three seamers, Wasim Jr. has been impressive. He picked up 3 wickets in the last game against New Zealand as well, bowled well. Even in the game against South Africa, bowled well. So, he's one who obviously Pakistan will be happy with in terms of his showing at this World Cup. But the batting, as opposed to the bowling this time round, where whatever England put up with, Fakhar Zaman again will be important, that chase, because England will probably have now slightly easier to breathe, might just put up a big score.
All right, we have to do a detailed analysis of both teams now that we see the tournament coming to a close for both England and Pakistan. Let's spend some time on England for now. We know that they're not, they weren't even close to the semi-finals. It's been an awful campaign for the defending champions. And Matt Roller is still around and he's asking the right questions. Let's hear from Matt.
Hi guys, I'm here just outside Eden Gardens in Kolkata for Pakistan against England. They said that the group stage of this World Cup would never finish, and yet here we are, the penultimate game of that phase of the tournament. Pakistan's last group game, England's last group game, and probably both these teams' last game of the World Cup, barring a 287 or more run win victory for Pakistan, or one of the most implausible run chases in ODI history, probably the most implausible. The result of that is that both of these teams are under a little bit of pressure coming into this game, not in the immediate here and now, because this is something approaching a dead rubber, but probably more for after this tournament and how they move forward from 2023 and prepare for 2025 and then 2027. In particular for Pakistan, a lot of that burden's fallen on Babar Azam, their captain, who on the day before this game was grilled, as he often is, by Pakistani journalists about his future as captain, his leadership and his run scoring form in this tournament. He's done okay, he's averaged 40, he's got 4 half centuries in 8 innings, but I suppose Pakistan probably needed a little bit more from their talisman in order to secure their passage to the knockout stages. And in particular, Babar's leadership has occasionally come under question, particularly against South Africa during that 1-wicket defeat, which really sort of changed the course of their tournament, and also against Afghanistan in that other defeat, which, you know, you look back and you think if Pakistan had won those 2 games, they could be sitting pretty and already through to the semi-finals. As it was, here they are needing a miracle, needing Kudrat K. Nizam to fall their way once again. Babar was speaking about his own future as captain and said it's not really in his hands, but it'd be interesting to hear what Urooj thinks in terms of building towards both the 2025 Champions Trophy and then the 2027 World Cup, whether Babar can continue. For England, their passage to the Champions Trophy is almost secured after a crushing win over the Dutch in Pune the other night. It will take a pretty heavy defeat for them to slip down to the bottom 2 on net run rate today, and other results to fall in an improbable direction, shall we say, in the last couple of games. But for them, it feels like probably the swan song for a few of their golden generation of ODI cricketers. We already know that they're going to select a young, inexperienced squad with a few changes and a bit of fresh blood for the Tour of the Caribbean in December. And then past that, they don't play an ODI until September 24, by which stage you'd imagine that quite a few of this side today will be moved on. We've seen England throughout this tournament a couple of times now field a team exclusively of players aged 30 or more. And you'd imagine that come 2027, quite a few of those will no longer be there. So for Harmy, I'll leave you with one question. How many of these England players out of the 11 that's been named at the toss are playing their last ever ODI this afternoon?
Almost sense I saw some emotion in Matt Waller with the music and the last World Cup. Almost teared up. No, I didn't.
It was a fitting piece for England's performance in this World Cup.
It sounded like a bit of a sad story.
I was going to say, I thought his bottom lip was going to start
melancholic to a degree. Right, the question's relevant though. How many of these players are going to hang around?
I think 4 will go and they'll play their last game. Stokes, Ali, Milan and probably David Willey will probably have played their last game come the end of this game. I look at Bairstow, Wood, Wokes and Root potentially. They're the ones that potentially could go to 2025. But when I look at what England have got going forward and going off the squad they picked against Ireland, I think the squad for me going to the Caribbean will have some fresh faces. You know, we'll see 1 or 2. I think we will still see 1 or 2 from this World Cup. The likes of Josh Butler will go. I think Harry Brook will go. Sam Curran will be in that group. Bryden Carson.
Wait, now let me just clarify this. When you say will go, you mean they will still be part? They will
go to the Caribbean.
Will go to the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And you're saying, now looking at that list, you see this as perhaps the swan song for Stokes?
Yeah, Stokes. I think Stokes came out of retirement, so I think that's...
Yes, Ali?
Mo and Ali...
Willie's already announced a retirement?
Willie's already announced retirement. Mo and Ali, the way he spoke about 50-over cricket in the last 18 months tells me that he's not really that keen on playing it, especially in the bowling department, so I think Moen will drop out that.
And the 4th you mentioned
and
was?
I think Milan as well. Milan's
really?
36 now. Milan's 36 now. Whether he carries on... or England may be forced to just say to Milan, look, it's time for us to move on. We've got 1 or 2 irons in the fire to go in and open the baton. Bear in mind, he's only opened the baton in the last sort of 6 months, rather than he's taken over from Jason Roy. So
he's still getting runs though.
He's still getting runs, but you've got to look. I think there's a couple of times you have to look that little bit further down the line, and I think looking at down the line, you've got the likes of Duckett. Zach Crawley was captain of that Ireland squad, so for me, I think England will try and move on from David Milan. Still a quality player, don't get me wrong, but in 50-over cricket, I think they'll move on. I think 2020 cricket, he'll still play, but I think in 50-over cricket, I think David Milan will move on, and the Caribbean squad, like Matt said, will be a lot different. I think we'll see some fresh blood, some new bowlers, and 1 or 2 new batters as well.
2 key players I'm interested in after what Harmy said, Anil, is Root and Bairstow here. And this is about managing perhaps a transition, which can be tricky. There's the emotion, sentiment of saying, okay, maybe Joe Root sees himself playing another 2 years. 2 years could also be a long time. There's a lot of format, a lot of cricket. What do you sense will be the right way forward for some of these players, including the 2 I mentioned?
I'd like to add even Adil Rashid in this, because that's also something that England will have to start thinking, because if you're looking at transitioning, then of course Root, Bairstow and Adil Rashid. 2025, there's not much one-day cricket. We heard it's just the West Indies now, and then the next one is in September. That's after the T20 World Cup and all of that. So I think England will have to start looking fresh in September. I know you think of transitioning, but I think it's important that they start looking out for what they want to achieve from 2024 till 25, because this England team didn't play too much of one-day cricket, and even if the one-day cricket that they played, they didn't play with the same squad. Yes, the squad played in T20 World Cup, won the World Cup, so it was more a T20 template that came to India and struggled on these pitches, because these pitches were not necessarily the flat decks that you got. I mean, we all thought when you travel to England that you will get some seaming conditions, but in white ball cricket, perhaps England pitches have been the best for batting, and that's where the template that England has had since 2015 worked exceptionally well. And that's something that we saw in this tournament, that England didn't adapt to the conditions here, neither with the ball nor with the bat.
I think just to add on from what Anil's saying there, not only is Adil Rashid going to be the biggest one to replace, and I think that's why they'll try and stretch him out to make sure he gets to 2025. Because I'm not sure Rian Ahmed is quite there yet to come in and stand in his shoes. Adil Rashid's been an unbelievable cricketer for England, but England have tried to keep the one-day side, the white ball side and the red ball side pretty much separate. Try and have like 22 players or sort of 30-odd players which cover both teams. The next cabs off the rank, especially to go to the Caribbean, the next cabs off the rank are probably Crawley and Duckett to play.
Let's look at that. I think you've come up with a bit of a squad.
Yeah, I've come up with a little bit of a squad, but I think going off the island series and going off the way the teams have been picked in 50-over cricket, I think this will be close to the squad that goes to the West Indies. Phil Salt and Zach Crawley captained England in the series against Ireland. So it looks as though they want Crawley to play 50-over cricket. Ben Duckett, for me, is one of the next cabs off the rank when it comes to white ball stuff. Harry Brooks young enough. Obviously, Butler goes there as captain. Livingston, Jacks takes the place of Mo and Ali. You know, Sam Curran has to now stand up and be counted because he's not a youngster anymore. He's a senior player. There's a lot of excitement for me about Bryden Carse. Atkinson's coming to this tournament. If we keep Topley fit, you know, your Potts has been playing in and around the 50-over side. I think you have to have Adil Rashid there as experienced, but he might be the one. He might miss out from the Caribbean to give Rian Ahmed his chance. But I'd like to see Adil go to work with Rian Ahmed, and obviously Jofra's there probably for the 2020 element of it. And there's probably one more name that I would add to that, which would be Ollie Pope, not for the white ball, but he hasn't played a lot of cricket. He's been injured. Coming to India, I think he needs some competitive cricket. So I think Ollie Pope will go on that tour to potentially play 50-over cricket, not 2020 cricket. But I think I see that as a 15, 16 players going to the Caribbean in December. And that is a transformation from what we see here.
Yep. I mean, I'm sure we can all throw questions at it. Urooj's been listening patiently. The next big tournament is Pakistan, isn't it? And that looks like with Hami's squad, Urooj, that this is going to be pretty much a completely different looking one. And I'm trying to think whether a Butler or a Root will be further incentivized coming to Pakistan. It may not be as challenging as India turned out to be. They can actually play the brand of cricket that has made England successful. Just looking at that squad though and examining how England have been so far, what are your questions about their future?
Yeah, I think when you look at those names that England have available to them, it's quite amazing that the Steve Harmison just put out his team, and you see so many players who've been in and around international arena, and England has the liberty or the cushion of having these players ready and obviously making those transitions. You mentioned Bairstow and Root. I think those two players would obviously fancy Pakistan conditions because they've obviously toured here with Test and with the Test teams that they came in December last year. And you saw in Pakistan the conditions are pretty much flat and placid, and then it's batting paradise all the way through. Now, how England make that transition? We also heard that Rob Key is probably in India having those discussions with the Butler and the company. But I really feel, I think, given this performance, there will be a few that will probably not last till 2025, let alone 27. So how long they hang on for? Because again, the quality that they have available, Phil Salt, Jacks, all those players, even Harry Brook, who we didn't see probably, I would have like to see Harry Brook in all games of this World Cup, wasn't the case. But I think England have enough quality and still have enough quantity of players to fill in those gaps for the next 4-year cycle.
Yeah, I think them 15 players going to the Caribbean, and if you add, I think Bairstow will still be around in 2 years' time. I think Wood, they've given him a 3-year contract. He will be around in 2 years' time. I think Root will still be around in 2 years' time because they've given him a 3-year contract, and Wokes as well. So if you add them 4 to that 15, I think that will be the players that will be the pool of players that I think England will pick from over the course of the next 2 years in 50-over cricket especially.
Can you win an ICC event with a relatively inexperienced squad? There's going to be a lot of ODI cricket between now and 2025. India have gone with a very experienced team for this World Cup, and we're seeing how it's working.
No, I think you need players to adapt. I think that's where you don't know how the pitches are going to be, and you need players to not just come in with a template saying, okay, this is the way I'm going to play. And yes, if that works for you in the first couple of games and then you win, then you're on a roll. But if things go wrong, England never look to change that approach, nor did they go back to their template? They forgot that. I mean, they got confused, and I'm not really sure about Joss Butler's position as captain, because I don't know. In this tournament, he certainly looked out of sorts. He was under pressure. As a batter, of course, he didn't score runs, but even as a leader, I think the pressure started mounting on him because of the losses that England were putting through.
He has made a comment in the press saying he would still like to do the job, which makes the point that Rob Key is here. Do you see him staying on as captain, and would you like him to be on as captain?
Personally, I think I would like him to stay on as captain. I think he was in such a difficult place, was Joss and Matthew Mott. They came in as captain coach off the back of 7 years of unbelievable success. And if they change something, then you're tinkering with something that's working. If you're Matthew Mott and you try and put your stamp on the team as a coach, when you know that the train is perfectly on the tracks and going quickly towards
they only won a T20 World Cup a year ago,
and
they bossed it.
And 50 over cricket, they'd been playing some unbelievable cricket. I think this tournament, the problem started at this tournament 6 weeks before the tournament, when they named the squad. They named Jason Roy in it, and they named Harry Brook out of it, and they put Harry Brook back into it, took Jason Roy out of it, said Jofra Archer was coming. That there sent a massive message to say we've got no idea what we're doing. And then,
how much of that do you put down to the captaincy?
I did nothing to the captaincy, and nothing to the coach. But when you come to the leadership qualities of Joss Butler, it's probably the first time he's been challenged in captaincy. And I think what I would like to see is, with this 15-man squad going to the Caribbean, Matthew Mott then gets his own head and responsibility of, well, this is my team now. Joss, this is my team now. It's not Owen Morgan's team anymore. These players have gone. Thank you very much. Brilliant ambassadors for the cricket world and for our game. And we send them off with great best wishes. But this is my team. And this is where Joss Butler has to stand up. This is where Joss Butler has to show his leadership qualities, both on and off the field, and take England forward towards 2025.
Right, so you
starts in the Caribbean.
You do give him the endorsement, but for the sake of argument here, who is the next in line to take on the responsibility of leadership here, with so many senior players also on their way out?
I never worked the theory that there's nobody else. There's always somebody. They'd give it to Zach Crawley last in the Island
Series. He
could
be named as a vice captain. You said,
I'd be very surprised. I'd be very, very surprised if he is named as a vice captain. There isn't many other options. Sam Curran has captained before, but I'd be reluctant to give Sam Curran the job in 50 over cricket, because he hasn't performed really in 50 over cricket yet. He's been over here, played one game and not seen him again. So I think Butler is the obvious choice. He's probably one of the only choices. And I'll back him to lead from the front. It's his team now. It's not Morgan's team. It's not Bayliss' team that won the World Cup. It's not Silverwood's or anything that goes with it. In the past, it was driven by a strong leadership of senior players. Now that's gone. It's Butler's turn to stand up. He has to do it.
Right. Sounded quite dispassionate. Would you like to throw in your hat, perhaps?
No, I wouldn't.
Director of cricket? Or
no. I've gone for one or two jobs at the ECB, but ECB don't really like me, so that's the way it goes.
That only depends on who. That's because the current people sitting there don't. Who knows who comes next?
Yeah, my mouth is sometimes 3 seconds quicker than my brain, and I don't think they enjoy that.
You and me both, mate. Right. We've enjoyed the Harmison show. Urooj Mumtaz will have her turn at the end, because we're going to do it as detailed and comprehensively for Pakistan before we wrap things up. Anil Kumble, thank you very much. We've been illuminated by what could be the chart forward for English cricket. For now, they need to get a job done and get some runs. So let's get a quick first innings prediction from our panel. Ami.
I think England have got to score in excess of 270, 280 to have any chance of winning this game. But I'm back in England.
I'm going to keep an eye on Kolkata also. We have a semi-final coming up here. We were surprised by the pitch between India and South Africa.
No, I think teams have found it tougher. Yeah. India certainly batted really well at the Eden Gardens against South Africa, scored 325. So I'm expecting England to be around that, around 280, 290. If they can get to that, then I think it'll be a good game.
Yeah, the comments are already coming in as I follow our ball-by-ball comms. Just blow them out for 50, chase it in 2 overs, and everything changes. Urooj.
Perfect, absolutely perfect. That's it. Pakistan into the semi-finals.
Oh my God, who are they going to play?
Pakistan.
Right. Yeah.
No, I think Pakistan will probably, again, anything below the 280 mark, Pakistan will be happy with because they've chased well in a couple of games in this tournament. So, but again, it'll come down to how their bowlers impact the game with the English batters who now have obviously nothing to lose the last game, and they come out strong with the bat. So Pakistan still have a job to do with the ball.
Yeah, 100%. This whole point of missing out on net run rate comes good only if Pakistan actually get the 2 points first. Otherwise, you're looking at a World Cup review very differently. So it's plenty that's on the line for both teams. We pick up the chat with our panel at the end of the innings and possibly have some content for you at the end of the Australia-Bangladesh game 2, which as I see now stands already at 290. So it's a sizable score that Bangladesh have posted. Still 3 overs to go. Looking good for a score in excess of 300. We pick up conversations as the day goes on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Matchday, powered by Qatar Airways. And do download the mobile app with so much cricket going on. It'll have you covered with everything and more. We will see you very soon again on this final doubleheader Saturday.
Stunning looks, then swift,